Hello and welcome to this Year 9 Options Assembly. My name is Mr. Bagley and I'm in charge of coordinating the options process and timetabling process within school. It is a bizarre situation to be talking to you in this way. Ordinarily, in years gone by, I've delivered an options assembly to a hall full of parents, carers and students. But it is really important that I get the opportunity to be able to talk parents, carers and students who have seen this assembly before through the process associated with making option choices in Year 9, ready for Year 10. So, without further ado, let's begin. I thought I'd start by talking a little bit about the subjects that students have very little choice over studying. Not all subjects are option subjects, and these are the compulsory subjects that students will take in Year 10 and into Year 11. GCSE Maths, GCSE English Language, GCSE English Literature and GCSE Science. Now there is some choice around the science qualification that the student can opt for. They can either study GCSE Combined Science, where all three sciences are studied, physics, chemistry, biology, but 2 GCSE qualifications are gained at the end of the 2-year course of study. That's GCSE Combined Science. Then we have GCSE Triple Science. All 3 sciences are studied, physics, chemistry, biology, but this time 3 GCSE qualifications are gained at the end of the 2-year programme of study. That's GCSE Triple Science. The reason 3 GCSE qualifications are awarded for Triple Science and 2 for Combined Science is because when studying GCSE Triple Science, the students are exposed to the sciences to a greater level of depth than what they are when studying Combined Science. Students are also expected to study personal development and PE, though these are not examined. These are the option subjects that students will have to choose from at the point where they get to make these decisions. These are the option subjects that they will have to select from. I'm not going to take the time to go through each one individually now. There is an options booklet available online for you to download. And that way then you can go through each of the option subjects in turn within that booklet. And it'll probably allow you to have conversations as parents, carers with your children around the way in which the course is structured, the assessment framework attached to that course, the links to other subjects that students may be wishing or intending to study, and also potential career pathways that might be associated with that particular course of study. I've also asked each head of department to nominate a classroom teacher to deliver options assemblies for their own subject area, and those are also available online. So if you want to, you can watch the options assembly for science, let's say, and in the options assembly for science you will see a PowerPoint presentation which details what happens if the student studies GCSE Triple Science in relation to course overview, the assessment structure, the career opportunities, the links to other subject areas, and more information besides. And also what happens if the student goes on to opt to study Combined Science. And that's the case for all of the subjects that you see here. Now, there aren't too many restrictions on the combination of subjects that you can choose to study, but there is one very important one that I'd like to point out now. It doesn't happen very often actually that students naturally choose to study both art and art photography, and then we have to have a conversation with them to say, well, actually that can't happen because of the similarities between the two courses. But it is not possible for a student to study art and also opt to study art photography, and vice versa. So I just wanted to make people aware of this. This is an example of a combination set which is not allowed. There are a number of other potential combinations of subjects which we would advise strongly against pursuing, but those combinations of subjects very, very rarely come up as students are making their choices. So if it becomes necessary for the school to have a conversation with the student and parents, carers around potential difficulties that could be caused by students selecting course combinations which might not necessarily benefit them in the long run in terms of their GCSE results profile, then obviously the school would take the necessary measures to make sure that parents, carers and students are aware of the difficulties that might arise from particular course combinations. But as far as course combinations which are absolutely not allowed to be chosen together, art and art photography do what's called discount each other in curriculum speak. So you cannot choose to study art and art photography at the same time. In other words, if you choose art, you can't study art photography as well. If you choose art photography, you can't study art as well. I thought it would be of some benefit to talk briefly about the Key Stage 4 qualifications in terms of the grading system that is applied to A, the GCSEs and B, the BTEC qualifications. So GCSEs will be graded using the relatively new 9-to-1 grading system. That's the case for all GCSEs, where 9 is the highest grade achievable, and BTEC qualifications will be graded using a different set of grade descriptors: P for pass, M for merit, D for distinction, and D star for distinction star, with distinction star being the highest grade awarded. It's also important to note, I think, that every BTEC qualification gained is equivalent to one GCSE qualification gained. So it's just a brief summary, really, of the Key Stage 4 qualifications, and particularly the grading system attached to those different types of qualifications, GCSE and BTEC. I thought I'd take some time at this point to start to talk to you about arguably the trickiest element of the options process for students to get right. It's my experience anyway that this particular part of the process causes more problems than more or less any other element, including the students being able to make a decision about which subjects they want to study. The hardest part for students a lot of the time is in being able to communicate their choices to the school, or in this case to me specifically. And the way in which students communicate those choices to the school, in this case, is going to be through the options form. So I want to spend a little bit of time talking to parents, carers and students about the options form and the process for filling the options form in properly. Okay, here we go. The first thing that students have to do is they have to make a decision between combined science and triple science. Which of those science qualifications do they want to study? Can't study both combined and triple. Student may love science, but it's not possible for you to study as a student combined science and triple science. So the student must make a choice between those two. Once the student's made the choice, then there are a number of different pathways for them to go down. So I'm going to outline those courses now. Okay, so if your child has decided that they want to study combined science and not triple science, this is the process that they'll need to go through. Now, when they're completing their options form, they'll notice that the options form looks a little bit different from the information that I've got presented on this slide here. They'll still be asked to make the same choices and provide me with the same information, so that's why I've decided to leave this options slide in. But the way in which the information is presented to the kids might be slightly different when they come to fill their options form in. So, if your child has decided that they want to study combined science and not triple science, they will need to make a subject choice between geography, history and French. As you can see here in the example, I've selected history, it's just an example. So they pick one subject from geography, history, French at this point. They'll then move on and they'll be asked to pick a further 3 subjects from a longer list of option subjects. As you can see here, I've given you an example as to how to fill it in. So in other words, I've picked 3 subjects that I'm interested in and I've popped a tick next to those 3 subjects. Fairly straightforward, hopefully. Students will also be asked to pick a reserve choice. So they need to make a reserve choice. Now that's not coming from any of the ticked subjects that I've chosen so far. The reserve choice would be another subject that I've not already chosen to study, which I would be still interested in studying if, for whatever reason, I couldn't be granted one of the firm choices that I'd already made. This does happen occasionally, whereby students have made choices of subjects, but unfortunately the timetable will not allow us to be able to offer a particular firm choice. And so we have a conversation with the student, we have a conversation with parents, carers, we let everybody involved know that unfortunately, in this case, it is impossible for us to be able to grant you one of your firm choices, but we can offer you your reserve choice. And that's why it's really important that the child takes a long time and thinks very hard about the reserve choice that they're looking to make, because they could end up studying that reserve choice subject for a period of 2 years. So it's really important that people pay attention to all of the information that they can get from the options booklets and the subject assemblies and through communicating with staff when it comes to making that reserve choice. Now, one other thing that I want to mention, if we look back at the top box here, you'll see, and I've already referred to it, that I've picked history to study. But I might have been interested in studying geography as well. Well, that's okay. You can see in the bottom box that I've chosen GCSE Geography as one of my 3 firm option choices. So I've chosen to study history in the top box, knowing full well that I was quite keen on studying geography as well. In the bottom box, I've been able to select GCSE Geography. And I just wanted to make that point clear, because sometimes kids think, if I pick history in the top box, am I then able to go on and pick another one of those 3 subjects in the bottom box? Well, yeah, you are. You could have picked geography in the top box and then gone on and selected GCSE French in the bottom box. That's absolutely fine. Okay, so hopefully that's fairly clear then. That's the process kids need to go through if they've chosen to study combined science at GCSE. Okay, so what's the process then if the child has decided that they want to study triple science and not combined science? Well, I think it's probably a bit more straightforward than what it was for combined science. What needs to happen is that the student would pick 3 firm choices. You can see that I've given you an example as to how that might look here. And then they would also be asked for a reserve choice. So in the options form that the child fills in, they'll be asked to make 3 firm choices, given that they've picked triple science, and then they'll be asked for a reserve choice. And once that information has been presented to me, that's all that child needs to do.